Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined by Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking Avoiding Landlord Pitfalls, key mistakes that slash rental yields in the UK today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like Landlord Rental Yield Calculator so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in. We are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
Welcome back to the Cost Saver Podcast. Today, we are getting into something that I think is going to hit home for a lot of people. Assad, we're talking about landlord mistakes, the ones that quietly destroy your rental yields without you even noticing.
Yeah, and honestly, Angela, that word quietly is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, because that's exactly what happens. It's not one big dramatic thing, it's like dozens of small decisions that just compound over time.
So let's start with the thing you're most passionate about, which is this distinction between gross yield and net yield. Because I think a lot of people, I'll be honest, I used to just look at gross yield and think, right, that's the number.
You and about most of the property forums out there, you see people posting, "Oh, I found an 8% gross yield flat in Liverpool," and everyone's like, "Amazing, well done." But that's a marketing number. It's what your rent looks like as a percentage of the purchase price before any of the actual realities of running a rental hit your bank account.
Before anything real happens, basically.
Exactly. Net yield is where the truth lives, because that's where you factor in mortgage interest, insurance, maintenance, void periods, letting agent fees, ground rent, service charges, gas safety certificates. The list goes on. And when you actually run those numbers, that headline 8% can shrink to 3.5% or less.
Wait, 8% down to 3.5%? That's more than half gone.
Yeah, on a $150,000 property, that gap is roughly $6,750 of profit you assumed you'd have and just won't. It's not pessimism, it's arithmetic. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's kind of terrifying when you put it like that.
Well, it should be motivating, right? Because these are all things you can actually check. And I always tell people, before you make an offer on any rental property, run 3 scenarios. Best case, realistic case, and then a pessimistic case where you bake in a 6-week void and an interest rate rise of 1 percentage point. If the pessimistic case still works,
You've got something real.
right, and that exercise takes about 15 minutes. 15 minutes to potentially save you years of mediocre returns.
Okay, so let's get into the actual pitfalls then. First one, buying in the wrong area. This seems obvious, but I guess people still get it wrong?
All the time. And the thing is, the cheaper an area is, the higher the gross yield tends to look on paper. So investors who've never even visited the street end up buying because the spreadsheet looks appetizing. But cheap properties exist for reasons, and those reasons usually translate into hidden costs.
Like, what kind of hidden costs?
So high crime postcodes, for example, they attract higher insurance premiums, more frequent damage claims, longer voids. There was a landlord, let's call her Sarah, who bought a 2-bed terrace in a Bradford postcode for $85,000, advertised at 9% gross yield.
Sounds great on paper.
Yeah, brilliant on paper. Within 18 months, she dealt with 2 break-ins, a 10-week void, and her insurance premium climbed from $280 to $680 a year. Her actual net yield, 3.1%. And the same money in a less troubled postcode 3 miles away would have returned closer to 5%.
Oh, wow. So almost 2 full percentage points difference just by being 3 miles down the road?
And here's the thing that really gets people. A property in a high crime postcode can attract landlord insurance premiums 2 to 3 times higher than the same property just a mile away. That single line item alone can cut net yield by half a percentage or more. On a $150,000 property, that's $750 a year.
Just on insurance, that's a lot.
It really is. So you need to actually look at crime data, school catchments, transport links, regeneration plans, flood risk, subsidence history, all of it, not just what the agent tells you on the phone.
I hadn't thought about flood risk being something insurers specifically track like that. Okay, pitfall 2, underestimating the real cost of ownership. I feel like this is where it gets painful.
This is where most spreadsheets just completely fall apart. Landlords budget for the mortgage, maybe insurance, and then assume everything else is rare or occasional. But in practice, it's this steady drip of expenses that add up to typically 2,500 to 4,500 pounds on top of mortgage costs for a standard buy-to-let.
Wait, 2,500 to 4,500 pounds on top of the mortgage? Every year?
Every year. And people forget things like annual gas safety certificate, electrical installation condition report every 5 years, energy performance certificate renewal every 10 years, letting agent fees, which are typically 8 to 12% for full management, inventory costs, accountant fees for self-assessment. I mean, it's a proper list.
And leaseholds must be even worse with service charges and...
Oh, leaseholds are a whole other level. A flat with a $2,400 annual service charge needs roughly $200 of monthly rent just to break even on that single line item. If you're renting for $1,000 a month, that's a fifth of your gross income gone before you've even thought about the mortgage.
A fifth just on one charge. That's actually kind of sobering.
Yeah, and the standard rule of thumb of 1% of property value per year for maintenance, that's a starting point, not a ceiling. Older properties, Victorians, HMOs, they cost considerably more. Damp, roofing, rewiring, boilers. Over any 10-year holding period, you will hit those.
Right. Okay. Pitfall 3, mispricing the rent. And this one surprised me because you're saying pricing too high is actually one of the fastest ways to destroy yield.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but every week a property sits empty costs you about 2% of your annual income. So if you overprice and end up with a 6-week void, you've basically wiped out whatever you gained from charging that extra bit of rent.
Can you give me the actual numbers on that? Because I think that's where it really...
Yeah, sure. So say your achievable market rent is £1,100, but you list at $1,200 hoping to squeeze a bit more. It takes you 8 weeks to find a tenant. You've lost £2,200 in rent during that void to gain an extra $1,200 over the rest of the year. You're nearly £1,000 worse off.
Oh, that's actually, yeah, when you lay it out like that, it's obvious. But I bet people don't do that calculation.
They really don't. And the other side is just as bad, pricing too low. If you're using rents from 2 years ago or your agent just wants a quick let, you could be $100 below market rate. That's $1,200 a year lost, and that gap usually persists for the full tenancy.
So what should people actually do, like practically?
20 minutes on Rightmove, honestly. Filter for let agreed in the last 90 days, same property type, same area. Look at local housing allowance rates if you accept benefit-supported tenants, and retest every 6 months while a property's vacant. If you've had 10 viewings and no offers, the market is telling you something. Adjust by 3 to 5% rather than waiting another month and losing $900 in additional void.
Huh, fair enough. The market doesn't lie. Okay, pitfall 4, this is the tax one, section 24. I know this changed a lot for landlords.
Massively. So if you bought your buy-to-let in your personal name and you're a higher rate taxpayer, your effective tax rate on rental income is much higher than it was a decade ago. Mortgage interest is now a tax credit, not a deduction. And a lot of landlords haven't properly modeled that into their yield calculations, which is, that's a big oversight.
And then there's council tax, which I honestly didn't think of as a pitfall until I read this.
Yeah, so when a property's empty between tenants, the landlord becomes liable for council tax. And here's the bit that catches people out. Many councils now charge premium rates for properties empty more than a few weeks. Some charge 100% premiums, so that's double the normal rate after just 2 months of vacancy. And the longer it sits empty, the steeper it gets.
Wait, really? Double council tax after 2 months?
Yep. And here's the really scary part. If your mortgage interest is large relative to your rent, it's entirely possible to make an accounting profit on which you owe tax while making an actual cash loss. You're losing money and paying tax on money you didn't actually make.
That is genuinely wild. Okay, pitfall 5, DIY management. So self-managing to save on agent fees. That's tempting, right?
Oh, very tempting. You save 10 to 12% of rental income, which on a £1,000 a month rental is about £1,400 a year. That's real money. But, and this is a big but, it only saves money if you do it competently. The compliance landscape has become genuinely complex.
How complex are we talking?
So failing to protect a deposit in an approved scheme can cost you 3 times the deposit amount. Plus, you lose the ability to serve a Section 21 eviction notice. Missing a gas safety certificate renewal is a criminal offense. Failing to provide an energy performance certificate or the How to Rent guide invalidates your eviction rights. And each of these mistakes is easily made by a busy landlord with a day job.
Criminal offense? That's not messing around.
No, it's not. So if you are going to self-manage, at a minimum, budget for a landlord legal helpline subscription and property management software. Combined cost of about £30 a month. That's cheap insurance against potentially life-changing penalties. Have I explained that clearly?
Crystal clear. And honestly, kind of scary. Okay, pitfall 6, and I really like this one. Treating tenants as a cost center.
Yeah, this is the subtle one that I think separates the landlords who do well from the ones who don't. If every maintenance request feels like an annoyance, if you're grudgingly fixing things, your tenants feel that, and they leave.
And then you're back to void periods and all those costs again.
Exactly. A good tenant who stays 3 years saves you roughly £2,000 to £3,000 compared to 3 back-to-back one-year tenancies. That's void costs, agent fees, refurbishment, and the stuff that keeps tenants, it's not expensive. Reply to messages within 24 hours, fix problems before they escalate, offer small refurbishments at renewal, keep rent increases modest and predictable.
So basically, just being a decent human being about it.
Pretty much, yeah. And it routinely adds a percentage point to net yield over a 5-year holding period. Being nice literally pays.
Oh, that's actually reassuring. I love that. All right, last one, pitfall 7, not refinancing or reviewing your portfolio. This feels like the set it and forget it trap.
That's exactly what it is. A lot of landlords set up their mortgage, find a tenant, and then just don't think about either for years. A property bought 5 years ago at 4.5% could be sitting on a standard variable rate of 8% or 9% now, when a new fixed deal could save you £200 to £400 a month.
$200 to $400 a month?
That's huge, right? And people sometimes say, oh, but the product fee is expensive. Look, a $999 fee that saves you $250 a month pays back in 4 months. Always model the total cost, but usually it's a no-brainer.
And you mentioned energy performance certificate rules changing too?
Yeah, so new energy performance certificate rules requiring a minimum C rating for new tenancies are expected from 2028, and the cost of upgrading older properties can run to $8,000 to $15,000. You want to be planning and budgeting for that now while you still have time, not scrambling at the last minute when every contractor in the country is booked solid.
Good point. So an annual review is basically non-negotiable.
Set a calendar reminder. Is the mortgage still competitive? Has the property appreciated enough to release equity? Is the rent at market level? Are service charges rising disproportionately? Has your tax position changed? Are there energy efficiency upgrades worth making? Just walk through those questions once a year. It's not glamorous, but it's where the money is.
All right, Assad, let's wrap this up. If someone's driving right now and they can only remember like 3 or 4 things from today, what should they take away?
Okay, so first, always focus on net yield, not gross. Gross yield is a marketing number. Second, run a pessimistic scenario before you buy anything. 6-week void, interest rate rise of 1 percentage point. If it still works on those numbers, you've got something real. Third, know your actual costs. Budget $2,500 to $4,500 a year on top of the mortgage for a standard buy-to-let, and be honest about it.
And the people stuff?
Yeah, treat your tenants well. It literally saves you thousands. And review your portfolio at least once a year. Mortgage rates, rent levels, tax position, upcoming energy performance certificate rules, all of it. Treat it like a business, not a savings account you forget about.
Brilliant. Assad, thank you so much. Really practical stuff today. And if you're listening and want to stress test your own numbers, we'll link everything in the show notes. Until next time.
Thanks, Angela.
Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially postcode crime data and rental risk, landlord hidden costs to avoid for better rental yield, and council tax bans explained, and how to avoid overpaying.
Exactly. And reading those together helps you connect the dots across your household budget, not just this one topic in isolation.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like Landlord Rental Yield Calculator right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include gov.uk, Renting Out Your Property, and Money Saving Expert, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost-saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone who could put these ideas to work this week.
Your next step is simple. Try Landlord Rental Yield Calculator, then read postcode crime data and rental risk, and use them together to take action today.